Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well today. There's a lot of energy in the hallway right now, so the time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. At this time, I will ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. And I recognize the good senator from the 28th to the reading of the journal there.
Good morning, Mr. President. That energy from the hallways is spilling into the Senate today, and I just feel great and energetic just for you. Today, on this day in 1942, daylight savings wartime goes into effect in the U.S., and it should have been called, or should have been done in honor of the senator from the 1st, since this is his big endeavor and has been for a long time. But today is National Giving Hearts Day. Today is National Pizza Day. It's National Toothache Day. It's Read in the Bathtub Day. And it's National Stop Bullying Day. But more importantly, I'm going to give you our page roster for the day. We appreciate you, Pages, and all that you do for us. Today we have Alexander Judge III. We have Jack Brinson Carter. We have Jordan Carter. We have Aaron Bigman. We have Olivia Wilson. Jackson Fritz. Christina Hamlin. Bowen Bailey. And Jones Beeman. Y'all give our Pages a big round of applause. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Senator, I understand that there was a dance competition last night for the House and Senate members. Did you participate in that by chance?
I did not. I was watching Georgia Tech and Notre Dame's, looked like their JV teams were playing last night, but Georgia Tech did win. So
I was just wondering if we had anybody representing the Senate in those competitions. So the senator
if I wasn't there, we didn't win. So.
Well, the senator from the 21st didn't have his socks on this morning, so I was wondering if that had anything to do with it. But at any rate, well, keep me posted if you find out if we had anybody there. Is there objection to dispensing of the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the secretary's desk at this time. First reading and references to Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 115 by Senator McLaurin of the 14th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to rights, privileges, and prohibitions so as to provide for the Adjutant General to be the official sponsor of the state-sponsored life insurance program for the Georgia National Guard
Veterans.
to provide. Senate Bill 116 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to disposition of municipal property generally so as to provide provisions relating to the maximum term of certain leases
State
or contracts.
and local government general.
Senate Bill 117 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to the State Employees Assurance Department so as to provide for the assignment of certain group term life insurance benefits to pay for funeral services. Senate Bill 118 by Senator Parent of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to income taxes so as to provide a state income tax credit based upon the federal qualified child and dependent care tax credit.
Finance.
To provide Senate Bill 119 by Senators Parent of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to crimes and offenses and to domestic
Interstate
relations.
cooperation.
Senate Bill 120 by Senator Eccles of the 49th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to safe operation of motor carriers, commercial motor vehicles, and drivers and safe
Public
transportation.
safety.
Senate Bill 121 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to general provisions applicable to counties and municipal corporations so as to prohibit local governments from denying the drilling services. Senate Bill 122 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to primaries and elections generally so as to provide for the qualifications of members of performance review boards, to provide for ballots
Ethics.
and Senate Bill 123 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to the effectiveness of educational programs so as to require the state-funded.
Education and youth.
Senate Bill 124 by Senator Setzler of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to county governing authorities so as to restate constitutional limitations on the authority of county governing authorities.
Reapportionment.
Senate Bill 125 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a bill to be entitled an act regarding landlord and tenant in general so as to repeal code
SLOGO
section.
general.
Senate Bill 126 by Senator Hickman of the 4th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to selling and other trade practices so as to provide for a limitation on interchange fees charged by payment card
Banking.
networks. Senate Bill 127 by Senator Hickman of the 4th, a bill to be entitled an act relating to excise tax on rooms, lodgings, and accommodations so as to
Economic
provide.
Development.
Senate Resolution 114 by Senator Davenport of the 44th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending Charlie Fleming on
Rules.
his outstanding. Senate Resolution 115 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Apostle Alexander.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 120 by Senator Butler of the 55th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending Mitchell Smith and for
Rules.
other. Senate Resolution 121 by Senator Butler of the 55th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Helping Georgia
Rules.
Students. Senate Resolution 122 by Senator Harbison of the 15th and others, a resolution designating the song the Veteran Anthem with lyrics and music by Takosha M.
Rules.
Swan. That completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading of House bills and resolutions.
House Bill 35 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to Georgia Ports Authority, so as to provide for powers of the
Transportation.
authority. House Bill 52 by Representatives Thomas of the 21st and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to highways, bridges, and ferries, so as to amend notice.
Transportation.
House Bill 55 by Representative Williamson of the 112th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to banking and finance, so as to provide for definitions, to provide for
Banking.
dates. House Bill 77 by Representative Green of the 154th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to the number of judges of superior courts, so as to provide for a fourth judge.
Judiciary.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Go. Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 90 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 84 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Summers of the 13th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Finance has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 56 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hufstetler of the 52nd District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 65 do pass. Senate Bill 61 do pass. Senate Bill 27 do pass. Senate Bill 43 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 41 do pass. Senate Bill 42 do pass. Senate Bill 68 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 21 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, Georgia Veterans Service Foundation Incorporated, revised operations. Senate Bill 69 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, Honorable Clarence Thomas, placement of a monument in his honor within the Capitol building or grounds provides. Senate Bill 73 by Senator Tillery of the 19th and others, telephone services, class action suits, and for damages against certain persons for violating provisions relating to telephone solicitations provide. Senate Resolution 65 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others, Greater Georgia Action Incorporated, former United States Senator Kelly Loeffler, recognized. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the following senators for business outside the Capitol. Hold on just a second. I got to put on my dollar store glasses here. I can't see a thing. Okay. 38, 35, 5, 55.
Without objection, the senators from the 38th, 35th, 5th, and 55th are excused. Senator from the 31st.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 47th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from 47th is excused. Senator from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to get the senator from the 28th excused for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from the 28th is excused. Senator from 36.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 44th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from the 44th is excused. Are there any other motions? Any other motions for excusing of senators? The secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for the morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask the doorkeepers to secure the chamber at this time. I now recognize the Dean of the Senate from the 15th for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introduction of the chaplain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please stand for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Now the Georgia flag. Pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, courage. Good morning, colleagues. It gives me a great deal of pleasure this morning to introduce the chaplain of the day, who is Major Angel L. Barrios. He has been an ordained minister with the Assemblies of God since 1989 and is credentialed with the Potomac District. He has been a member of the Bethel Assembly of God in Salvage, Maryland since 1980. Chaplain Barrios is a 1986 graduate of Central Bible College in Springfield, Missouri, with a Bachelor's of Arts in Biblical Theology and minors in Biblical Languages and Missionology. While at CBC, he was awarded several scholarships and as listed in Who's Who among colleges and universities in America. He competed, 1995 Masters of Arts Religion at Liberty Theological Seminary in Lynchburg, Virginia, and in 2008 he completed a Masters of Divinity also at Liberty. Upon graduating from CBC, Chaplain Barrios became a youth pastor at Bethel Assembly of God in Savage, Maryland, and from 1987 to 2009, he was a full-time missionary evangelist ministering in 45 countries and 49 states. He is fluent in Spanish. In 2009, Chaplain Barrios joined the United States Army and was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, where he was assigned to the 3rd Squadron of the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment as a squadron chaplain. From August 2010 to August 2011, he deployed to Iraq during Operation New Dawn with the 3rd ACR. In June of 2012, he was stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland, and assigned to the battalion chaplain to the 308th MI Battalion of the 902nd Military Intelligence Group. In August of 2015, Chaplain Barrios was assigned as an operational deployment to Joint Task Force Bravo in Soto Cano Air Base, Honduras, where he was the battalion chaplain for the I-228th Aviation Battalion. And upon completion of this assignment, Chaplain Berrios was assigned to the 83rd Chemical Battalion at Fort Stewart, Georgia, as the battalion chaplain. In April 2019, Chaplain Berrios was promoted to the rank of major and attended Command and General Staff College at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, for 4 months. Beginning in September 2009, he was assigned for 2 years as the brigade chaplain for 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart. He is presently stationed at Fort Benning and is assigned as the new brigade chaplain of the 194th Armored Brigade. Chaplain Berrios was awarded the Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Medal, and an Army Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters. Chaplain Berrios' parents are from Puerto Rico, and he was born in Munich, Germany. He is married to the former Carmen Alvarez and has 3 children, Daisha, Michael, and Danielle. Please welcome the word of God from Chaplain Berrios.
Thank you. Good morning. It's my privilege to be here. You know, when I went to seminary at Liberty Theological Seminary, I took a class entitled American Christianity. And being that I'm a history buff, particularly a U.S. History buff, it was one of my favorite classes, American Christianity. And what I learned there is that every country has a spiritual rhythm, or every country has a religion in which they adhere to. For instance, India would be Hinduism, the Middle East would be Islam, Central and South America would be Roman Catholicism. So the question is, historically, what is the spiritual rhythm of our country? It's Christianity. American Christianity was the name of the class that I took. And what was fascinating about that is, once again, it's not that we were or are a Christian nation. That's controversial. If not, it's simply that we have a spiritual rhythm that lines up with Christianity or the Bible. Now, being that as it is, it doesn't mean that our country's perfect, because God knows we're not a perfect country. But I will say we're a great country. And I would argue and I would submit to you the reason why our country is so great is because of the fear and the recognition that our country has had to the one true God who we serve as a country. Christianity, Judeo-Christian values, whatever you want to call it. Again, this is historically, this is what our country has been. As I look out to you, I notice that everyone here, we have some kind of fear in terms of God, a spiritual fear. And so that leads me to encourage you and to remind you that we are human beings. And we live in a world that is unlimited. We live in a world that is infinite in regards to its understanding. Nobody here can fully understand the world in which we live in. So many things happen in our country that we don't understand, that we scratch our head. We ask each other why and how could certain things happen. But I do want to encourage you and I want to challenge you and understand that there is a God who's in control of everything. There is a God who is just waiting for us to seek Him, to look towards Him for help and for wisdom. We will all agree here that God has placed each and every one of you in this position in which you can be a tremendous influence, not only to those closest to you, but those in the state of Georgia. So what do I encourage you to do? Seek God for wisdom. Surely we don't think that we don't need God. Surely we're not going to sit here and stand here and think that God is not necessary in our lives. God is not necessary in our state. Surely we will not take that route. But I would say, as an encouragement to you as the chaplain of the day, seek God every day. Seek God every day for wisdom. let me share with you a little bit about myself. I became a born-again Christian as a teenager. I gave my heart to Christ at 14 years old, a long time ago. You all notice my gray hair. Ever since I gave my heart to Christ, I've endeavored to put God first in my life. Every day, do you know I've read the Bible every day since I was a teenager? From Genesis to Revelation at least 45 times. Why do I do that? Why have I done that all my life? There's not a day that has gone by since I was a teenager that I have not missed reading my Bible. There's not been a day that I've missed, not even a day that I have missed in praying every morning. My wife will tell you, she's up in the gallery there, she will tell you that I don't go a day without spending time alone with God before I leave the house. Why? Because I'm humbled that I serve an awesome God, that not a sparrow falls to the ground without Him taking note of it. If I was in your position, oh my, I'd be seeking God every day for wisdom. I'd be looking to God every day. There's no way I wouldn't, because your position is too great, too honorable, too privileged, too influential not to seek God every day. So the spiritual rhythm of our country traditionally has been Christianity. I submit that. And I want to encourage you to turn to God every day and seek God. Don't leave your house without spending time alone with God, because trust me, He wants you to do just that. He loves you. Let us pray. Our God in heaven, thank you for honoring us with your presence at this time here in the Senate chamber. Show us that without your guidance and blessings, we will not be able to make good and right decisions for the people of the state of Georgia. Our efforts would be futile and worthless, for your word says that through you all things were made. Without you nothing was made that has been made. Therefore, you have all things in control. So indeed we are convinced that you govern in the affairs of men. Precious Holy Spirit, make yourself real to us by revealing truth about every issue that will be discussed on the floor today. Truth is powerful. Truth is necessary. And truth will bring true liberty, of which our state has so long experienced. I rebuke deceits, the deceits of darkness that would attempt to derail us from true truth, which is the holy word of God. I ask these things in confidence, believing that you hear us. Honor our faith. I ask in your holy name I pray. Amen.
It is our pleasure to have the doctor of the day, and I'm going to give the honors to the senator from the 14th to introduce him.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, colleagues. It's my honor this morning to introduce our esteemed doctor of the day, Dr. Matthew Keaty. He is a emergency room doctor from North Atlanta. He is a vice chair for clinical practice of emergency medicine at Emory University School of Medicine, associate professor at the same. Primary research focus involves emergency department throughput, innovations in the science of healthcare delivery, and improving operations, including exploring the impact of clinical information managers on throughput and provider productivity, the impact of electronic pathways in our medical record to standardize and streamline care. I understood 60% of that, but I have the utmost confidence in Dr. Keaty and his ability to serve our district and the state of Georgia. So if you could please join me in welcoming Dr. Keaty.
Certainly, I don't want to follow the chaplain. That was pretty impressive. But I want to thank you guys for your service. What you do is very important, clearly. And then hopefully I won't see you today, but if you have any medical needs, please visit us in the station today. Okay, thanks, guys, for everything you do.
We have some very special guests here today. We have a group with the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and it is our honor to have them here today. The Children's Healthcare does wonderful things and have touched so many lives and has a lot of positive impact with those lives. Secretary, read the resolution, please.
Senate Resolution 70 by Senator Rhett of the 33rd and others, a resolution recognizing February 7th to February 14th, 2023 as Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas congenital heart defects are one of the most frequently occurring birth defects and a leading cause of deaths related to birth defects worldwide, and whereas over 1 million families across America face the challenges and hardships of raising children with congenital heart defects, and each year approximately 40,000 babies are born in the United States with these conditions. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize February 7th to February 14th, 2023 as Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week at the state capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
I'd like to call on the senator from the 33rd to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. Today, I want to take time out to thank the Spiegel family for joining us up here with the mascots and the service dogs, the Bowen family, the Dove family, the Thomas family, and also the Children Healthcare of Atlanta. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. And also up here with me, we have Cheyenne, who's 8.5 months. We have her mom, Christina, her dad, Jeffrey, her brother Logan, her brother Kyle, and the senator from the 17th. And anybody who's up there in the gallery, would you please stand up and be acknowledged? Right now, today, we're recognizing February 7th through the 14th as Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week at the state capitol. Whereas congenital heart defects are one of the most frequently occurring birth defects and a leading cause of death related to the birth defects of worldwide. Whereas over 1 million families across America face the challenges and hardships of raising children with congenital health defects, and each year approximately 40,000 babies are born in the United States with these conditions. Some congenital heart defects are not diagnosed until years after birth, when these conditions go undiagnosed. They can cause many cases of sudden cardiac death in young athletes. Despite these alarming statistics, newborns and young athletes are still not regularly screened for congenital heart defects. Congenital Heart Defects Awareness Week provides an opportunity for lives to have been affected by the congenital heart defect to celebrate life, remember the loved ones they have lost, honor dedicated health professionals, and share information with the public and the media. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize February 7th through 14th as Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week at the state capitol. We thank you all for your attention and coming down here for this worthy cause, and I'm going to have the Lieutenant Governor present this resolution.
Let's give this lovely family a round of applause and thank the Children's Healthcare for everything they do. I think he's ready to stay right here. Are there any unanimous consents from the body? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? While I'm waiting on some members here, I understand that it is one of our members' birthday today. The senator from the 9th, I believe, is her birthday today. So happy birthday, Senator. The fine lady from Gwinnett County. 29 and holding, right? Mm-hmm. Senator from the 49th, you wish to rise? Senator from the 49th, the good lady from Hall County, you wish to rise on a point of personal privilege?
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. President. Today is an exciting day at the Capitol. The highly coveted chicken boxes have arrived and are being delivered. If you're wondering why a chicken box, let me remind you that Gainesville is the poultry capital of the world. I'd like to welcome the Greater Hall Chamber of Commerce Leadership Hall class to the Capitol today. This is a special group. I'd argue it's the best leadership group in the state, especially since my sister-in-law, Carly Jones, is in it. This year, these 42 emerging leaders will travel the county and state to learn about economic development, public safety, politics, tourism, education, healthcare, social services, agriculture, and quality of life. If you see these fine folks walking around the Capitol today, thank them for the chicken boxes and give them a warm welcome. Mr. President, I yield.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 14th, you wish to rise on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to address you colleagues as a native of the city of Atlanta and a member of the Atlanta delegation. There's now a bill on the city of Buckhead City, that municipality, that pre-incorporated corporation. Colleagues, I found myself exhausted, tired of the sound bites, the messaging, going through the motions. I need to look somewhere else for the words I need, right here from the well. I need the benefit of artistic inspiration to fully express myself on this issue. There is a local poet named Amaretta the Great, an Atlanta resident, who can better explain how I feel than I ever could on my own. I've taken the liberty of paraphrasing some of her lyrics to fit our situation in this chamber. She writes, "I wasn't going to say nothing, but this on me heavy. I promise it's getting ridiculous. After this drop, do not jump to conclusions. I don't need these folks in my mentions. So when we speaking on Atlanta, I don't play, right? But I'm going to get right to the subject. Ain't going to beat around the bush. Answer this if you say you from the A. Which zone are you from? What hood do you live? What hospital bed were you born? Look, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm an A baby. I got to start pulling folks' cards. If you're not from this side and you don't know the facts, just chill and repeat after me. Catala is not Atlanta. Forsyth, not Atlanta. Tyrone is not Atlanta. Effingham is not Atlanta. Noonan is not Atlanta. Chattooga is not Atlanta. We're happy with our Atlanta. We want a united Atlanta." Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Recognize Senator from the 31st on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. On behalf of myself and the senator from the 6th, today we're going to file to create the first ever Georgia Hispanic Caucus in the General Assembly. We have, it deserves a round of applause. Give it up. If you want to join, this is the form to put your name on. It's going to be filed today by 1 or 2 o'clock, so if you want to join, this is it. We believe this is important to our community across Georgia as we discuss the issues that impact Hispanics all over Georgia, whether you're in a rural community, urban community. And I think the time is right to begin this, and I know our friends in the House are going to do the same. So as we move forward, thank you for your support, and thank you, Mr. President, for your support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from 2nd, would you like to rise on a point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise because I've got some very special guests in the chamber with me today. It is Savannah Chatham Day at the Capitol. I know you have seen all of the delicacies on your desk from Senator Watson, but I wanted to remind you all that it is Savannah Chatham Day at the Capitol, and I have with me some very special guests. I have with me the 67th mayor of Georgia's first city. That's the city of Savannah, America's most beautiful city, the Honorable Van R. Johnson, in the chamber with us today, as well as some of our youth leaders from the Chatham County Youth Commission and the Savannah Youth Council, who have come up to Atlanta today, taking a day out of school to see government in action. So, colleagues, I'd ask if you could give them a round of applause this morning as they have come. That 4-hour, 3.5 to 4-hour drive up I-16, as the senator from the 4th and the 1st could attest, is not easy. So with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. It's good to have all the good folks from Savannah, Georgia here today, and good group of young people you brought down here as well, Senator. So thank you very much. Senator from the 33rd, would you wish to rise on a point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. As you know, this is Black History Month, and today I want to highlight another one of our famous figures who is a member of the Senate for Black History Month. I want to recognize the senator from the 34th. Her name is Valencia C., but I call her Say, but she says C. She's a Democrat representing Senate District 34, which includes portions of Clayton and Fayette counties. Senator Say is a member of the the senator from the 34th, pardon me, Mr. President. Government Oversight, Public Safety, Science, and Technology. She's a retired 22-year career banker, and she is also president of and CEO of C and Associates. Elected to the Clayton County Board of Education in 1992, she broke the color line as the first Black African American to be a member of the Clayton County School Board. When I asked her what was her keys to success as she integrated the Clayton County School Board, she said, "Honey, I just build bridges, not walls." Throughout her career, she has been closely involved with various civic groups. Recently, she was honored by the Georgia Historical Records Advisory Council for her legislative advocacy for establishing an agricultural museum. In addition, she received the 2015 We Are Clayton County Living Legend Award. She is also a life member of the NAACP and the National Council of Negro Women. The senator from the 34th also supports the advancement of women as a member of the National Organization of Women Legislators, Women in Government, and Women Legislative Caucus. The senator from the 34th was also honored by the Clayton County chapter of the NAACP with his prestigious Living the Legend Award. This session will be the senator from the 34th last tango in the Georgia Senate. She will retire after this Senate. She is one of the matriarchs of the Georgia Senate. I encourage you younger and newer senators to get to know her and tap into her wisdom. She is known for walking around the Capitol, getting in her steps, but I want to thank you for taking steps across District 34 to build enriching bridges, not only there, but throughout the Georgia Senate and the state of Georgia. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
I recognize the senator from the 37th for a point of personal privilege. I don't see the senator from the, oh yeah, I do. Senator from the 37th. The man from Cobb County. You're off? All right. He waves. Senator from the 20th. Good man from Perry, Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to welcome the Perry Youth Leadership and Perry Adult Leadership groups. They're with us here in the gallery today, and I'm sure they're just mesmerized by all of our activity this morning. We will be getting to some serious work later in the day, though, I can promise you, but I'm glad to have you all here today. Thank you very much. Please recognize them with me. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 43rd for point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise on a point of personal privilege, recognizing and celebrating Black History Month. I'm going to name a few of our inventors and heroes. The first one is George Crumb. For those who didn't know, he invented the potato chip. Frederick McKinley Jones invented the automatic refrigerated air cooling units for trucks, trains, ships, and planes. Marie Van Britten Brown was the first ever inventor of the first ever home security system. Shirley Jackson invented products such as the touch tone phone, portable fax, fiber optic cables, and caller ID. Dr. Patricia E. Bath is known for her significant contributions to the medical field, including fighting against blindness. Additionally, she is known for her invention of a new technique and concept for cataract surgery. Additionally, today is the birthday of our beloved Georgia peach, Alice Walker, born in Eatonton, Georgia. She is the famous author of The Color Purple. Today is the birthday of my beautiful sister Priscilla, who made the Black History list as the first Black woman to run for supervisor of elections in her county. She is the person who wore the perfect afro. She loves jewelry, loves her family, and exemplifies the love of Christ everywhere she goes. She's also the person who taught me about natural hair, healthy hair, beautiful hair. And the Crown Act is a bill that I propose that I hope we will adopt in this body to celebrate the expression of beauty and excellence. Lastly, on behalf of the senator from the 44th, I would like to acknowledge the National Federation of Blind in Georgia and the Georgia Vision Alliance. If you are in the gallery, please stand. I think they left, so welcome to your state capitol. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Senator from the 1st, would you like to rise on a point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Mr. President. The senator from the 2nd and the senator from the 4th have already mentioned this, but if you notice the pralines on your desk, it is Savannah Day, and we do have an oyster roast brought up from the coast. Barnes does the catering. They've been doing that for, wow, as long as all of us have been here, and they've done a great job. So they bring oysters from the coast and a low country boil this afternoon. Your badge gets you in. And that's one issue I had, and I'll take advantage of being up here and the light still being green, is that we have the dental hygienist here with us today. I hope they are in the gallery now. We have a resolution recognizing them. This is Dental Hygienist Appreciation Day, February 9th, 2023. And they obviously do a great job. Hopefully you all visit your dental hygienist at least twice a year. For regular preventive checkups and cleanings, and remember to brush and floss as we all should do, eat a balanced diet, and so forth. So I wanted, if the dental hygienists are there, I'd love for y'all to stand up. And yes, they are. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 34th, would you wish to rise? Clayton County's finest.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I rise to make sure you all understand and know that today we have acknowledged through Senate Resolution 119, that's 119, Clayton County Day. Today, February 9th, Clayton County Chamber is here today. The House has them over on the House side. I've been trying to wait on Senator from the 44th, who is coming but hasn't gotten here. But at any rate, on behalf of the 44th and the 34th, I wanted to recognize and welcome Clayton County Chamber here at the Capitol today from the well of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll yield the well.
Senator from the 17th. Our fine Judiciary Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just warning everybody to watch your buttons, stay close by at your desk. It's that time of year where people will go and push your button, try to make you go down and give a speech. But the truth is, when they do this, all they do is hold everybody up. And so, Senator from the 19th, we're going to be a little bit later getting out today because I had to go to the well and give this speech. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all very much.
The senator has yielded the well. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the resolution on the consent calendar is adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Senator from the 31st, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 112 be withdrawn from the Committee on Higher Education and committed to the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism.
The senator has asked for unanimous consent that SB 112 be withdrawn from the Committee on Higher Education and recommitted to the Committee on Economic Development. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to vocational, technical, and adult education, so as to provide for a pilot program whereby qualifying private nonprofit entities provide instruction and other services for eligible students 21 years of age and older to attain a high school diploma. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Senator from the 31st has asked for unanimous consent for SB 112 be withdrawn from the Committee on Higher Education and be recommitted to Economic Development. I believe the senator from the 21st, the chairman of Economic Development, is good with that motion. Is there objection? Without objection, it is reassigned. All right, we're heading on to the rules calendar. Senate Bill 3, Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 3 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to organization of executive branch generally so as to require state departments, agencies, boards, bureaus, offices, commissions, public corporations, and authorities to assess educational, experimental, and training requirements for positions of employment, to identify positions of employment for which such requirements can be reduced, to require efforts to reduce the number of positions for which a 4-year college degree is required. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass by substitute, respectively submitted by Senator Harbin of the 16th Chairman. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 3, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 20 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to personnel administration generally so as to require state departments, agencies, boards, bureaus, offices, commissions, public corporations, and authorities to assess educational, experimental, and training requirements for jobs. Senator Albers of the 56th offers the following amendment, Amendment 1, to amend the committee sub of Senate Bill 3 by deleting the word such on line 19 and replacing it with the word each. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from the 56th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, it is my honor today to present the Reducing Barriers to State Employment Act of 2023. This is an initiative from our very own Lieutenant Governor, the President of this body, in an effort for us to review all the positions we have in state government to assure that the education, the skills, and experience match up with that position we are currently hiring for. As an example, we want to make sure that we're not requiring a four-year degree or advanced degree or a certification that may not apply to that job and lose out on the opportunity of having our best and brightest apply for that job. And I'll give you an example. We have many technology jobs available in our state that Bill Gates is not qualified to apply for. We also have other jobs that might require 5 or 10 years of experience, and the technology or the process only came out 1 or 2 years ago. So we want to take that time, and I want to give a specific shout out to the Department of Administrative Services, who will be leading this effort, and I believe already starting to do a great job working with each and every department within the state to do just that. Again, we don't want to miss the opportunity to give people that chance to work for state government and truly learn and grow in their job if the experience is not commensurate. Now, that does not take away the need for certain education and certifications at all. This is just an opportunity to assess each one of these to make sure that they are in fact accurate. And while I'm talking, I want to mention Amendment Number 1. This was simply a Scrivener's error when we created the bill, and it just changes on line 19 in your substitute. The word such is removed and replaced with the word each. Mr. President, I will yield for questions.
You do have a question. Senator from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I yield.
I like this bill, by the way. Anytime we can reduce barriers and create opportunities, I love it. I am in support of the bill. I am just concerned in the wages. So sometimes we have a problem keeping and retaining talent because we just are not paying enough. So now we're going to reduce barriers, create more opportunities for a certain level of professionalism to fill jobs. So would you agree that we also want to make sure that the wages are comparable to the level of professionalism that we are requesting so that we can remain competitive, keep them in those jobs, keep our talent here?
Well, Senator, first, thank you for your support of this bill. I know that your support will be helpful in getting it passed today. As far as wages are concerned, I know that the department as well as OPB are conducting salary analysis for each job, and that's an ongoing process, and I agree, especially with 40-plus year high inflation, that we need to make sure that we are compensating people properly so we again can retain the best and brightest. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd urge your favorable consideration, and I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure or the amendment? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of Amendment 1 by the senator from the 56th, the author of the bill. Is there objection to the adoption of the amendment? Chair hears none. Amendment 1 is adopted. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Hearing none, the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report on the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor signify by voting yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machines. My former seatmate back there. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Moving on, Senate Bill 23. Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend various titles of the official code of Georgia annotated so as to revise the committee name to repeal provisions relating to inactive boards, panels, authorities, centers, commissions. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbin, Chairman of the 16th. Senate Committee on Government Oversight offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 23, a bill to be entitled an act to amend various titles of the official code of Georgia annotated so as to revise committee names to repeal provisions relating to inactive boards, panels, authorities, centers, commissions, committees, councils, task forces, and other such bodies. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from the 32nd to speak to Senate Bill 23.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 23 is a repeal bill, and it's a cleanup bill that identifies a number of corrections to our code. It identifies a number of commissions, boards, councils, and committees that are obsolete, either because they've expired or not operating. There are also name changes for 2 committees. Each of the 12 sections of the bill deals with one of these entities. Since filing the original bill, I had requests to include a couple of other entities in the repeal, which is why there's a substitute bill. I've not heard from anyone who objects to the list that I've identified. The bill passed committee unanimously, and I'm sure there are other areas in our statute that need to be updated, but this bill is a good start, and I would ask for your favorable consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield the will.
Does any senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. And the question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Where's the majority? I recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I've moved that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to Senate Resolution 6 until 1 p.m. on Monday, February 13th.
The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Monday at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Monday. All those in favor of the, announcement, please. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. Read the announcements.
The Rules Committee meeting will happen upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. The Appropriations, Agricultural, and Natural Resources Subcommittee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in Mezzanine 1 of the Capitol. The Children and Families Committee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in 307 CLOB. The Regulated Industries and Utilities Committee meeting will happen at 2 p.m. 450 of the Capitol. The Public Safety Committee meeting will happen at 3 p.m. and 450 of the Capitol. The Insurance and Labor, Life, Health, and Specialty Subcommittee meeting will happen at 3 p.m. and 310 CLOB. And the Judiciary Committee meeting will happen at 4 p.m. and 307 CLOB. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Senator from the 23rd would like to make an announcement.
Colleagues, that if you are chairing a caucus in the Senate, I need for you to complete the caucus registration form. I have them in my office. We'd like to clean that up next week. So all caucuses need to have a renewal in the Ethics Committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Any other announcements? Senator from the 36th.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good morning, colleagues. I called your attention to a notice on the desk. Working Families Caucus will be lunching today after we adjourn. 307 CLOB. We'll be hearing presentations on key education policy and budget issues from our educators and the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. Happy to have you join us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was not in the chamber at the time of points of personal privilege, but just an announcement that the blind and visually impaired community is down here today. The Senate always support them, and I just want to welcome them to their capital, let them know that the Senate stands behind them always, and they'll be here, I think, in room 307 in CLOB. But welcome, and thank you so much, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Any other announcements? Any other senator wish to rise? All right, I hope everybody go enjoy Savannah Day today. Be sure to do that as well. I know they're having oysters tonight. It's always good. The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to SR 6 until 1 p.m. Monday, February 13th. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. All those opposed, no. On the motion, the ayes clearly have it. Everybody have a safe weekend.